I've already discussed briefly the reapportionment of districts at the federal and state levels. Each state has their own rules for going about this, which I'll discuss later. Well, I'm going to discuss a lot of things later, because this is all kind of introductory to give you a sense of the scope of this course. However, it's important right now to mention that this reapportionment extends to the most local levels. The districts from which county superintendents are elected, and even districts for city council members. In Iowa, all levels are governed by a tripartite principle: compact, contiguous, and one person, one vote. In Linn County, this has become contentious when rural people claim the right to have a rural representative, even though the rural area is a donut around the metropolitan area. Thus, it's not contiguous and it's not compact. Additionally, the rural area needed some urban area to rise to the one person, one vote principle. Thus, the rural interest was diluted by urban, exurban, and suburban interests even so. Urbanization is a great theme, as relevant in Iowa as it is across the world, but it takes on a unique quality in Iowa because of its agricultural past and present, and the political structure that addressed its primarily rural nature for its first century. In Iowa, there are several kinds of cities. The earliest cities were built on the great rivers of the country, not just of Iowa, but there are rivers for the whole country, the Mississippi and the Missouri. On the Mississippi, from south to north, are Keokuk, Fort Madison, Burlington, Muscatine, Davenport, and Bettendorf, Clinton, and Dubuque. 8 significant cities, not huge cities, but significant cities, between 10 and 100,000 people. On the Missouri, there are just 2 cities, Council Bluffs and Sioux City, also with fewer than 100,000 people each, but Council Bluffs lies just across the river from a city bigger than any in Iowa, Omaha. There are railroad cities. Some of them are on the rivers also, especially Council Bluffs, but many others are in the interior. Waterloo and Olwine, in particular, were cities with extensive railroads for maintaining equipment, the first for the Illinois Central and the other for the Chicago Great Western Railway. Olwine was actually the headquarters for the Chicago Great Western. Many towns formed hoping to attract railroads, then faltered when the railroads chose to go through other towns. Finally, highways are very important factors for towns. Coralville by Iowa City has grown significantly after the mall was built, even redesigning its downtown. West Des Moines has benefited from its location by the combined interstate highways 80 and 35, for another example. North Liberty has grown rapidly because of its placement between Cedar Rapids and Iowa City along 1380, and of course its proximity to Coralville Lake and Lake McBride. The distribution of cities is related to their size. Usually large cities are not next to each other, but spread out as commercial centers on which many smaller cities depend. There's usually a hierarchy of cities, but modern transportation and communication is changing that relationship. In places that are not dominated by a colonial pattern, there's usually what is called a rank-file system, with one large city, a few about half that size, twice that many 1/4 the size, and so on down to the smallest communities. Each system, though, has its unique qualities, which we'll look at more closely in the case of Iowa later on. In many societies, there are primates to cities, cities that are much larger than the next largest. Looking at countries, Mexico City is a primate city, Buenos Aires in Argentina, London in the United Kingdom, Lagos in Nigeria. Looking at states in the United States, Chicago is a primate city within Illinois, but not within the USA as a whole. Neither New York nor Los Angeles are primate cities in the country, although New York is primate in the state of New York. Cities where a great amount of the nation's or state's business is conducted are cities with centrality. They're very important. You could say like 40 or 50% of the state's business is conducted in that one city. Finally, there's a whole set of prefixes to describe a variety of dynamics regarding urbanization. De-urbanization, describing the diminishing size and power of cities. Counter-urbanization, describing the move out of the cities. Re-urbanization, efforts to revitalize downtowns after a period of decline. So we'll be looking at all of those further on when we get into the course and discuss urbanization.